Hi, and welcome to another segment of our faith journey series, where we're interviewing different members of our church about their faith journey and what they've been going through. We've had a really good interviews over the last couple of weeks, and this week I have an opportunity to interview a family in our kids ministry, and I'd like to welcome Yen and her family, so the Siow family. So I'll say hello.
Hi.
Just so that we get to know your family a little bit better, are you each able to tell us give us your names, how old you are, and then for Yen and Kevin, if you could let us know what you guys do for work.
My name is Emmanuel and I'm 12.
My name is Samuel and I'm 14.
My name is Nathaniel and I am 9.
And I'm Yen. So I do two things. I run a social enterprise which makes STEAM videos, which is the science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. And I provide these videos for a lot of disadvantaged communities around the world. And then I also work for a charity, which is the Father Bob Maguire Foundation. And we provide a lot of support for homeless people and, again, disadvantaged communities. And it's Kevin, my husband.
And I work as a management consultant in KPMG.
I just wanted to move on to just another question, and this is maybe more specific to you, Yen. I heard that you came out of the Vietnam War as refugees. And so my parents also were refugees out of the same war. And so for me, it's like such a big story. And I just really want to take this time to hear a little bit more about that. Are you able to elaborate more on that story about how you and your family were able to come out of that situation?
Yeah. Look, we left Vietnam in 1980 and I was only 3 years old at the time. So my sister was a year older and then I had a younger brother. And it was mum and dad plus about 75 other people. And we escaped Vietnam because the war had ended and a lot of oppression had happened. And so things like my family's livelihoods, their homes was all taken away from them. My uncle was also threatened and he was put into a re-education camp. And we were told that he'd come back in a few months. And he didn't come back for many years. And so we were really worried for the men in our family, particularly my father. And so my father and a few family members, plus a lot of the community, decided they would escape Vietnam. And it took them 3 different tries to get a boat and leave the shores of Vietnam. So on the first try, my dad told me that they would go out in the middle of the night, bring the whole family and all the other relatives with them. And the person who sold us the boat didn't turn up with the boat. So then we had to backtrack and go back home. The second time they tried to escape, the boat was there and everybody was ready to get on, but the boat wasn't seaworthy. And so again, it was a failed attempt. And so we lost all that money because it's a lot of money to give these boat smugglers. And then on the third attempt, again, in the middle of the night, my father and plus about 70 to 80 plus people were leaving the shores of Vietnam and we got onto the boat. And finally, this boat was in some ways seaworthy enough to leave the shores of Vietnam. So when we left Vietnam, we realized that we didn't have enough water, didn't have enough food, and the boat itself wasn't actually seaworthy. So we really just panicked and we stayed on the boat because there was nowhere else to go. And many other boats passed us by, but they didn't want to stop for us either. So we were trapped out at sea for 5 days, 4 nights without proper food and water. We were on a very, very small fishing boat and there was 82 of us on board. And every single day the families were desperate and crying for help and nobody would help us. On the very 5th day, finally, a boat or a ship came by very far in the distance and a lot of people saw the ship and they waved it down and the ship saw us because we could see that it pointed towards us, but then the ship decided to leave and go further away from us and we thought, great, another boat has seen us but has left us to die. And so we were disappointed and devastated and lo and behold that ship wasn't leaving us, it was doing a big U-turn and finally it came closer to us. And the ship was a Norwegian oil tanker and they rescued the entire Vietnamese boat people on that day. And there was only 30 people on their oil tanker, but they shared all of their food and their rooms with us. And we were on their ship for 10 days. And they traveled around Southeast Asia looking for a refugee center to take us. And Unfortunately, many refugee centres didn't want to take us, and we were stuck on the ship for 10 days with no particular place to go. And finally, Singapore opened its doors. So we're very blessed that a miracle happened, that the decided to rescue us. And a second miracle was that Singapore opened its doors and allowed us to be Vietnamese refugees for a number of months.
Yeah,
So
wow.
that was, yeah, it was quite tragic. And I only actually found out about the story 3 years ago on a journey and find the people who rescued our family. So the captain and the whole 30 cruise ship, who they were, and see if I could say thank you to them. So prior to that, I had no idea that this is what happened to my family. My parents would not talk about the war or why we had escaped, and the shame they felt and the sadness they felt in leaving their extended family and friends. But I think the story and the moral of what I had to go through was that when we are able to find that center of gratefulness and that place of giving back and being thankful for what God has done in our lives, then there is no more shame and there is no more fear that what we did in the past was wrong or that it was not right, particularly for my parents. And so when I found my rescuers, it was for my parents a time of closure and a time for them to say, we did the right thing. We could thank these people and we could move on with our lives. And so it's certainly been a journey for the last 3 years to meet and find the rescuers, the people who rescued us, and to thank them and to share the journey of faith with them. So that's pretty much my story.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible, because it sounds as if it's like when you choose to escape that situation, it's not like you're leaving and kind of going like, oh, I have a sure path from Vietnam to Singapore, or I know exactly where I'm going. It's not like how we have it today, where we can jump on a plane and go, oh, my destination's going to be, this particular location.
Right.
And so it's such a big, step of faith in that sense, and kind of like it goes out of your hands. And I remember hearing about even some of the stories that some of my uncles would share about how there's pirates in the sea, and so some people aren't even able to make it to that destination.
Yeah, that's right. They do say that about 50% of the Vietnamese boat people who escaped actually didn't make it. So survival was really low. And so when you're escaping Vietnam, you're basically saying, I can't live in Vietnam anymore, but I'm going to take a huge risk and go out and see. And it's a 50-50 chance that I'm going to survive this. Yeah. So quite sad, but yet it's quite a desperate call for a new hope and a new life.
Just want to maybe wrap up with the final question. Maybe I can direct it towards you, Kevin, but are you able to share with us about a time when you really stepped out by faith into a situation that really just needed God to pave that way?
Absolutely. So there's been several milestones throughout the last 17 years of our marriage. I can certainly think about how incredible His grace has been, but probably the one that's really significant and memorable was how God took us on a journey back to Melbourne. So up until like 3 years ago, we were actually based in Singapore. So we've been in Melbourne for a long time. She's from Melbourne, obviously, Vietnam to Melbourne. I grew up in Singapore, and a couple of years ago, I decided to bring the whole family back to Singapore. And the job was good, the project was good, the money was good. Everyone was sort of humming along. But there was something that God was just speaking to us about the state of our family, the state of our marriage, and where things were at. And so at this particular juncture, the project was wrapping up. I had a number of different sort of options. One was to stay on and take on a new project with a new company that was paying double what I was actually getting, versus actually coming back to Melbourne without a job and having no certainty. I guess the long and short story was we went before the Lord in our knees, literally, and just really spent time praying, seeking the Lord, reviewing our, values and what was really important to us, understanding what the Holy Spirit was speaking to us, and really having a view of where things are at with our family. I guess, the spiritual condition of our marriage, spiritual conditions of our kids, and and where we're actually at in our journey of faith. So in through much prayer and just humbling of our hearts, the Lord spoke really clearly to Jenny and myself that we are to come back. So you can imagine, taking a step of faith where I've got no idea what I'm coming back for, right? So I didn't even know where I was going to live, stay, work. Everything was a big question mark. In faith, it's almost like Abraham took the step of faith. So we took the step of faith, trusting that somehow God's going to work it out. So lo and behold, fast forward, we're incredibly grateful that we're really settled now. I'm absolutely enjoying my work. Kids are absolutely enjoying school. And our marriage is probably the strongest that it's ever been in 17 years of marriage, which has been, and as I look back, I realize that this is an incredible journey of faith, and it all started by saying, yes, God, we'll learn to trust and obey. As we trust and obey, you will show us the next step. Day by day, He's gonna take us on this journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. That's all the questions that we have for today. Really appreciate your time to join us today for the Faith Journey series. Great.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
All right, see you.